Good morning, everyone. Just want to check if everybody can hear us. Morning, Marcus.
Morning.
Good day, everyone. Thank you for joining INNOV8, where we are going to build dynamic temporary subscription forms in Ignition Perspective. Really excited to see what you're going to show us today, Marcus.
Cool. Hi everyone. I'm Lucas from INNOV8. I'll be taking you through a relatively short demonstration of building dynamic temporary subscription forms, like Luan said, in Ignition Perspective. So let me start off by sharing my screen. Okay.
And yes, sorry, if everybody has any questions, please feel free to ask. We will answer them during the session, and also just create a small space afterwards to answer. Thanks. Over to you.
Yes, please. If we can have people ask questions during the session as we go, that would even be better. If you see anything that doesn't make sense or your schedule might forget, please ask while I'm on the focus point, and I can answer it for you. Okay, so I hope everyone can see my screen. What we've got here, we've got a normal, I'm saying normal, a small demonstration of a tank being filled. So what we'll be doing today is we are gonna basically choose any device on this tank and subscribe to the status or value of that device for a certain amount of time. Okay. So if you see, for example, this is our header. So we've got a form here. On this form, we can fill in a few things. Just to quickly show you, we can select all the devices here. And if you click on this device, there's also a form component where you can only choose the device and then the members of it. So I'm quickly going to show you what the goal is here, what we're going to do. And then I'll go into the designer where we'll go and do a much more deeper dive on how we got to this point where we could actually make this work. Okay, so first off, we'll maybe choose the high level switch. It's a good one to control. So we'll fill in our name. As you can see, there's an autocomplete function there. That's also something I can quickly show you when we get to the form. We'll select email. And when I select email, it automatically gives me an autofill for email. Okay, if I take this out and we select Telegram, it will give me a number option. Okay, very cool functionality built into the form. For Ignition Perspective, we'll choose high switch and we'll say the process value. Okay, we'll say if the process value changes, which is the PV, let's say for the next, what are we now? 24th. So let's say I don't want to get notifications forever. So let's maybe make this up until 9. So this one is not +2, which is why it looks like this. And then we say submit. It says success, notification added successfully. Okay, so I can actually escape this. Okay, and then I'll open my simulation SMTP server, and it will tell you get a notification telling you, hi, Marcus Westhuizen, your alert notification for the high switch for plant 1, tank 1 is scheduled to alert in a state change intervals for the process value, which means if we now go and we change this to on, we should get a notification telling us, whoa, the high switch changed from false to true. Okay, very cool functionality. We can now basically change it back. put it back into auto, and we should have gotten another notification because it changed back. There you see it changed from true to false. So what this is useful for is think of it as a way to get alerted without you actually having to monitor or write any custom scripts for a specific device or specific action or event that happens in your plant, right? A technician has maybe just fixed a level switch or they fixed the valve. They want to know for the next shift or the next day if they if this device fails or if it goes into alarm. We obviously subscribe to the PV now, but you could subscribe to the alarm as well. If you go high switch, you can subscribe to the alarm. You can subscribe to the interlock if there's an interlock alarm. So this is a nice way to get notified for a certain amount of time when for a certain state that you want monitored. We can obviously as well also do hourly, where it can send you hourly notifications for the tag and value you subscribe to, or you can do daily, where it sends you at a certain point in time, it will send you a notification. That could be useful for a lot of the plants have got their own built-in water treatment plants, and which means you get you've got water reservoirs getting water from the municipality. So you might want to know if there's water restrictions, what is the level of your water every hour or on a daily basis for the next, I don't know, week or weekend. There's also a nice thing for the more team leads or managerial positions on a plant, without having to bother the engineers to go write custom scripts for them for certain things or build custom dashboards. Okay, so let's dive deeper into how we built this. So the only thing on the gateway, two things actually, is we've got a SQLite DB, which is just where we store who are the users that are subscribing. And then we've got another table, which is the log every time it sends a notification. And then we also have a small SMTP server called Papercut, which is the one you guys saw here. This is just a local simulation SMTP server. So it's running on my Docker, 425, very secure, no password. Okay, let's go to the fun part. Okay, so I'm quickly going to take you through forms, just so everyone's got an idea of how the forms work, why it's so dynamic, and why it's so great. And then I'm going to take you to the more complicated scripts. Okay, so we've got a form. The cool thing about the forms component, for those that don't know, forms was released in Ignition 8.3 as part of Perspective. So the cool thing about it, the way Inductive built this for us, is it's already responsive, meaning if I change the form, it will respond to the screen size automatically. It's also got a bunch of pre-built widgets there for you that you can just choose from. So there's no custom building or anything like that. You can still customize your styles as you would have always wanted to. As you can see here, we've got 6 widgets. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the submit and cancel button is there by default. So this would be our header. That's not important. Then we can, well, it is important, but it's not important for us to look now at. So this is just our name and surname. As you see, I chose the autocomplete name. Okay. So that is why when I clicked on the name in the form, as you can see here, it auto-filled by name. So and that's that. We can then go to notification type. So this one is also quite easy. It's 2 basic ones, email and Telegram. Okay, we've only got email configured, so we won't be doing Telegram. So the cool thing about this is you can, on this contact info, you can look at what was selected for the notification time. So what we do, for example, is we go check what is the value of the drop down that was selected in the notification type, and that will determine whether we are going to be email or telephone for the autofill. which is why it changed. So this is another cool thing about the forms is you can do bindings pretty much as much as you want to. And it really gets quite integrated. You can almost do too much. Now, one thing you'll see every time we've got an ID here, which is called alert tag. So after I went through this, I'll show you why it's so important to have an ID. By the way, you can't not have an ID. If you take it away, so does the widget. So they do force you to have an ID because it's very integral for the data that's being sent when you submit the form. So what we've got here, we've got a binding, and then this binding uses the view parameter that we've got on our form or on our component. And this view for now is the agitator. So what we'll do is we can take this out, just go to tank, and then we'll say area. Okay, so tank 1 is an area. When we go back to the form to our widget, you'll see it's got, and I'm gonna talk you through this. It's actually not that impressive. So all it does is it looks at our tag path coming in. It will then look at our type that's also coming in. Then it will say if the type is area, execute this. If not, execute this. So this is an area. So we've got an empty array here called tags. This is what we want to return in our dropdown. Then what we do is we browse our value. The value is the tag path we just put in, which is plant1 and tank1. And then for each member that it returns in this tag paths variable here, it will then put it into a dictionary for us where the value would be the full path of that tag path and the label will just be the name. Okay, and then we add it to the tags and then we run all the way through. So if you now say okay, you'll see we've got the agitator, we've got the flow, and if you look here, we've got the exact same. So this is how we can get, so it looks at your tag structure, which is why it's so important to have a very good tag structure as well. Okay, so then once again, based on what we select in this dropdown, the binding here will look at what we select here. Here. So we look at the data of the alert tag, which is the ID I showed you earlier. What it will do now, it's going to make sure that it's the value of good and return it for us. Otherwise, if it's not a value of good, it will say not found. This is just to make sure that it only executes when something is selected. So as long as the value is not found, we'll browse it again, and it's the same thing. We'll just look at the tag path, find the recursive elements, and then run through them to return this for us. So if we play and we do select the agitator, we can now see we've got amps for the agitator, we've got the alarm property, and once again, it returns the full tag path. Now, the reason why the ID is so important is for this part here. So this is your data attribute in your form. So everything you type gets stored in this property, okay? Oh, nice. Not that it will make a difference. Okay, everything you type gets stored here. So the entire form data is built from this attribute, meaning even if I change it here, it will change in the form as well. So the entire form is linked to this data property, which actually makes it so much easier to get data from if you're making bindings. You don't have to go to remember which widget it is, or even if you move the widget, the location of the widget, as long as you keep the ID the same and you call it alert tag, which this one is now, you can always point to this and always know you're getting the value of the correct one that you want. Okay, so then, okay, we'll select state change hourly. This just, as you see, gets added. This is our notification trigger. And then we'll select an end time. Okay, now Another cool thing that you can add to the form, which I didn't do in this case, is this is just a quick rundown on the forms for those that do want to play with it a bit deeper later, is you've got a validation section where you've got constraints and you can make it required, for example. The cool thing about the required is if it's not filled in, your submit button will be grayed out automatically. So there's no custom scripting or anything you have to do. It's built into the form. Okay. So we've got our data. Now we want to submit, but when we submit, something needs to happen to this data. Something needs to use this data and do what we want it to do, right? Write it into a database, make sure you get subscribed, make sure you get your emails. So we've got a submit section here, which is not disabled. Then we've got two event sections. So you've got fire component event and fire submission event. Fire component event is when you right click on the form and you say configure events, you'll see there's a on submit action performed section. That would be the fire component event. And this would work like any other component in perspective where you can just add any action and do anything, right? But then we also have something called fire submission event. Now, fire submission event is very important for when you want to do offline. It's also a functionality of the form. There is offline forms, and offline forms will always write to the submission handler when it gets connected back to the gateway. I'm not going to go too deep into offline right now, but it is something cool to research more upon on. So what we've got here, we've got a submission handler, which is alert notifications form. Now what happens here is we've got in 8.3 now a gateway event called form submission in perspective. And in here, you can create as many scripts as you want. Okay, these scripts are the handlers that they are talking about. So when we go back to the form, we just made sure that we are going to submit to the alert notifications form. So this is what happens. You click submit and it sends your data to the alert notification.
Whoops. Did you disconnect there?
Yeah, sorry. See, I had a small disconnection. Okay, I'm gonna continue. Not sure where everyone lost me. But I think it's okay, right?
Yeah, everything looks fine.
Okay, cool. So just to quickly run back, so we've got the gateway now has in perspective, it's got a form submission handler. You can create as many scripts as you want there. And then you can, this, for example, would be the script that we are going to be using. And then on this script, we just need to make sure that is the one we specify here. Okay, so let's open the script because this is where the magic starts happening. So here we've got our script. We've got a parameter called data. That is the exact same parameter you saw in the form. Data is data. Okay, so it's quite easy. You can just use the data parameter to work with. And then I did call it payload here. I don't know why I did that, probably because I was used to perspective, the sent message component. But I see later I did rename it back to data anyway. So there's a bit of a waste. Okay. So we've got a logger just to make sure we can log our events that's happening. Then what we do is we go get all the information we can. We get our header property, we get the drop-down value, we check if it's an email. If it's an email, we get the contact info, we get our alert tag, which would be the first part, and then we get our alert trigger, which is the full part that we wanted to fire on. And then we've got the notification trigger. This is the one that said state changed or hourly or daily, right? So then we can get the start time and end time. This is very important, obviously, because we want the notifications to end automatically. So if you subscribe for 3 days, you don't want to go in and end it yourself. You want to know that this was the last notification. We're not going to fire again, and then it's done. Okay. Here we just convert the formats of the date time. We log what we found, and then we've got our trigger type. Then what we do is we add this notification. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll go to the query browser, and we'll say this is our user notifications. And as you see, this is the example we did earlier where we subscribed and trigger type, end time, start time, the alert value tag. And then we can also go to the notification log just to quickly show you. And this is the amount of times it's alerted us so far. Okay. So this is the add notification. This will add you to the user notifications table. Okay. You will then get, so just to go through that quickly, we've got our normal scripts where it's add notification. Okay. This is just our query into the DB, and that is it. Okay. Then this is basically the magic, the devil's work, the important part is this section here, where we say if the condition that we wanted to fire on is state changed, we fire this script. Now, what this script does, and we'll go through it now, is it adds a path to our tag change script. Now, for those of you that don't know, I haven't seen it yet. So Ignition has a gateway event scripting where you can do scheduled scripting. So we've got, for example, daily notification. This is the same one you would subscribe to in the form. It runs every day at 7 a.m. It checks who subscribed for daily notifications. It then will check what tag are you subscribed for, go get the value of the tag, and they'll say, hi, this is your tag value, and then you'll get your next one the next day. Hourly, the exact same thing, except it fires every hour. Now, tag change is a bit different. The reason why tag change is a bit different is, okay, we've got our triggers. For us, it will only be value, but you need to manually put in your tag paths that you want this to fire on. Now, of course, you can go and add the entire tank one folder and then use an asterisk as a wildcard. The problem is every single tag or value that changes, even the UDT members will fire the script. So that's just going to put a massive unnecessary overload on your system, okay, resource-wise. So what we want to do is we want to dynamically and automatically add values in here, but we also want them to get removed when we are done subscribing or when there's no one subscribed to the tag value anymore. So how do we do that? We'll go back, go to the alert notifications form. We'll say it's notifications util edit tag change path, and we want it to add. So we'll go here, look for edit tag change path. That's this section. Okay, so this is probably what most of this demo is about, is this section here. So what we're going to be doing is we'll look at, so we import a few things. One very important thing we import is we import the Ignition gateway. The reason for this is so that we can get the gateway context. Now, the gateway context just gives us a bunch of functions to access on the gateway. One of them that we actually want is the data directory. The reason why we're getting it like this is it just makes it so much easier if someone did install in a weird place, but it also makes it easier for the different operating systems that Ignition can run on. So this way, we know we've always got the true data directory. Okay, so we get the Ignition gateway context. We say context.get system manager, get data directory, get absolute path. Then we get our project name, and then we join it. The reason why we join them is, for those that don't know, Ignition 8.3 is now file-based, meaning everything that we do in our project is now accessible in a file. So if you go to your data directory project, if you, for example, go to this project, you can see your views, right? You've got forms. This is our actual form. You can also go back. You can see the script. This is our script, handle submission. You can go back and, sorry, let's go in. Here, for example, we've got scheduled, then we've got our daily and hourly notifications, like we just saw. You can see these actual scripts here. You can edit them. But the important one is the tag change. So this is our script, new tag change path. So this is the actual script. So if you were to open this, you would see the exact same script we see in the designer. Okay. Now, if you open the resource, you would see that it's the same thing. It's those trigger types, which is ours is just value change. It was created by me. This is last modification signature. Then path is empty, and the files it needs to fire is this. Okay. Overridable, restricted. The scope is the gateway. So this is the one we want to be adding to and removing as we go. Now, there's a few things to it, but I'm going to talk you through it. So what we then do is we join our paths, we edit the resource.json file, or we get the resource.json file first. Okay, so here we've got some functions, which we'll go through one by one. So let me also close these so we can just focus on our important one. Okay, so then what we'll do is we'll get the input, which is the tag path. Okay, we'll see, also look at, remember we said tag path and we said add. If it's add, we add. And we'll go there now. Otherwise, if it's remove, we'll remove. They do the same thing. One adds, one removes. Okay, very simple. So we'll go to add path, which is this section here. On add path, what we do is we look at our data and we say load JSON first. Okay, so in load JSON, we read the file as a string, and then we'll just pass it so that we can actually use this data and then return. Okay, so we can actually read. So then what we do is we go look in this data if attributes is available and if path is in the data attributes. So if we go back, we open, you'll see there is a section in the JSON called attributes and paths is in attributes. So we just want to make sure this is available there before we do anything. If it's not available, we won't be doing anything. Okay. So if it's available, we get the path that's currently there. And then as long as the one that we selected is not in them already, then we'll add. Okay. So if it's there already, it's just going to exit and it will continue. You'll just be added as a new user to the notification for that tag. Okay. So if it's not, it will add it to the path and then we'll save the JSON. Now, I'm not going to go too deep in saving the JSON. One important thing when we do save is, sorry, let me open, is that we compute a new signature. And this is the modification signature that it creates. This is quite important. Well, for me, it didn't want to actually pick it up if I don't change the modification signature. So we did compute a new signature and it seems to be quite okay. Whether this is a good thing or not, I can't tell you. I've actually never showed this to anyone at Inductive. But it computes a new SH256 signature for us, and then it saves it for you. And then after it saves it for you, you've now basically added a new file to this. So if we close, let's just go to the gateway and reset our trial. So if we close and just pull everything, as you can see, this was added. We didn't type this in now, right? We didn't do anything. So all I did was I pulled changes from the gateway and the tag was here. So in an hour, it will also be removed automatically, and then you can pull it again and it will be removed. Obviously, a thing to consider is that we are busy changing an actual file on the system. So
yeah. So what
it comes with
happens?
a lot of yeah.
Sorry, what happens
Yeah.
if three people make a change to the file at the same time?
That is actually, yeah, that's exactly it. So we are busy changing a file. It's cool and it's nice. If three people submit a form at exactly the same time, it's at the moment, the way my system is set up, it's definitely going to be a thing of, the 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 first one wins or the last one wins actually, depending on which one comes through first. So a better way to actually do this is to add the alert notifications form instead of having your script go here straight to the edit tag change path, this section here. You would actually rather create an event to an event stream. If you look at event stream and you say form, okay, this is now something completely else. But the cool thing about the event streams is it's got a buffer. So in this way, we can make sure that all the events come in. If it's multiple events at the same time, we can have them queue here. Let's say a maximum of 10, right? And you can make them wait for 3 seconds. But you can have them wait, and then after that, we can have them do the exact same thing, write to a database and a script as well. And you can rather put your script here. This is something I actually realized later on. But it would be a way better way to handle concurrent users, and especially in a plant environment to have concurrent people submit at the exact same time. I would definitely look at event streams. So yeah, then we've got our gateway event. We've added it. We've added the new tag. Now what it does is it goes and it looks at, we're getting our time, we get our tag path. So what happens is when this fires, you've got, for example, let's say by that time you've got 10 tag paths in here. Each tag path will create its own or fire the script on its own. Okay, so every time it changes, your tag path you can access from this event object here, which is why I say event.get tag path. This gives us a tag path that fired the event. What we then do is we query the database, user notifications, to see who is subscribed to this tag path in our current time. Okay, so obviously higher than the start date time, but still before the end time should be now. Then it looks, sees if it finds anyone. If there's no one subscribed to this tag path, it will go and remove it anyway, which is the same thing we saw earlier, to remove it. Then if it returned more than one person, it finds all the contact details for that person, finds the value of our tag path currently, sends an email, which we saw multiple times coming through, and it sends us a notification. Now, for a quick overview, this is, yes.
Sorry, Marcus. Yeah, we've got a question here from CJ Barnard. He says, many ways to skin a cat. Would it also be possible to programmatically use the alarm notification module to dynamically create a new pipeline for the user submitting the form?
Yes. Now, that is a very good point, CJ. So, depending on where you want to use it, for example, if we use the event stream, especially for multiple submissions, you can fire event, a gateway event, but this gateway event can then trigger your alarm notification module, alarm notification pipeline, depending on which one it is. You can also have it go through the alarm notification pipeline first to an event stream, to the same event stream. So like you say, I see you say many ways to skin a cat. So for me, this was just a lot easier to consider, as I just wanted to show a way to do it for people that don't have the alarm notification. But the alarm notification module is a way cleaner way to standardize and have templates and make sure it always follows the same thing, especially if it fails and you want to retry. it's a perfect way to do that. Thanks for the question. Cool. So let's quickly go here. So what we've got is the user fills the form. Okay, we work with the JSON, we extract our fields, we get our date times, we write to the database. Okay, so we've got user notifications. The user notifications will be the one that gets accessed from our daily scheduled, hourly scheduled, and our state change scheduled. And depending on which one is the one that's firing, get the data and send an email in our case. We'll then write to the tag change listener, edit the tag change box, send a confirmation email, and it returns true. Okay, should just basically on our daily notifications. This one, I usually don't even test or show. The reason why is because there's no, you can do in these scripts whatever you want. You can have these be named queries. I wrote them here. But all this does is every day at 7, it goes, gets our users, and then sends our email. So if you go look just the last time, something very important to consider, and even for me, it was quite the change was the where is it now? The tag change parts. The compute signature is very important, and these scripts, this project actually will share to anyone that that requests it. We can actually, I guess, Luan, we can actually put it on the Ignition Exchange as well, which makes it actually so much easier. But before that, if anyone wants this, the project, the entire project, you are more than welcome to have it. I really hope this is something that's useful, even if it's not to the exact degree that we implemented it. It's hopefully useful for maybe giving you an idea on how to implement something or anything. So one thing that I would just like to also tell that maybe you might want to add is what I didn't consider is, for example, how you would want to cancel. So it might be a good idea to have the user have a cancel button, if they want to opt out of the notifications ahead of time, which will basically just send an email or send a request through telling it to have that removed in there to be able to remove them early on. So what we did was, after we created the form, because we created the form in such a dynamic way of it just looking at the tag paths, when we added it to our main view, which is site view plant 1 tank 1, which is our main tank plant, it was quite easy. We could just add the view. But then what we did was on our faceplate, you usually have your path anyway coming in for your drop configuration, right? So it's already connected to a UDT. So what we then do is we just use that on our form. Let me show you. No, not this one. So we've got a forms button. And then all we did was we said when you click this button, we'll open the form and use the path of the faceplate that it's already using for all the other values. And this way, we can pretty much click on anything and have the form available for that device. And that is it that we have to show you today.
That's really awesome, Marcus. It's like a form is no longer just a form capturing data. It's becoming a whole application on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, the forms is really it's a powerful thing, and I wish we go into offline a bit at some point. We did go into offline a while ago for the people that attended DS with Engineers. For example, this form that we built today will not work the way you want it to in offline mode. The reason for that is the bindings that we've got on the form, especially these ones. The ones that do the tags. Unfortunately, bindings do not fire offline at all because bindings fire on the gateway. So you cannot see the bindings, or the bindings cannot talk to the gateway, so they can't fire. But if you are interested in offline forms, please reach out to us. We do have some workarounds for creating pre-filled forms, especially using the ones that have got bindings to pre-fill the form for you. So you've only got a static JSON form at offline that's already filled with the dynamic values for you. There's obviously different risks to that, but we are more than happy to talk you through it and chat with you about it. Any questions from anyone on the call, on the webinar?
Yeah, before we end the session. No, it doesn't look like there's any more questions.
Okay. Cool.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, see, there's one. So it's actually ready for the exchange. I can submit it. Maybe I can just clean it up a bit and submit it for the weekend. But if you want the project ahead of time, you can reach out to me or Luan or anyone at Element8 on LinkedIn, on our emails, on our website. Please do reach out to us and I can get you the project ahead of time. But on the exchange, unfortunately, even after you submit, it takes a while for them to approve it. So it takes like 3 weeks, I think, on average. But I can definitely send it to you earlier if you want it, Matthias.
Okay, I'm also dropping Marcus's email in the chat, so everybody can just contact there.
Yes, please do. Awesome.
Okay, fantastic, everyone. Have a wonderful Friday, and yeah, thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Bye.
Yes, bye.